Mickey, what's the status of the new album?
The new album is running very good. Tomorrow we go in. We're going in for the last 4 days tomorrow to finish up with overdubs and hand claps and oohs and ahs and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, right now everything is all the guitars are done and the vocals are done, and so it's sitting in a really good spot right now.
Your brother Willie is producing the new album. What are the pros and cons? And I'm sure, working with all your brothers over the years, what are the pros and cons of working with family on a project like this?
The pros and cons of working with your family members on records. That's a good question.
Thank you.
The pros for me are I've been working with them my entire life, so they kind of already know where we want everything to kind of go, and they also know basically what we're capable of doing, which is really nice because they'll push you to that level if you're kind of half-assing it. Basically they'll say, come on guys, you got a better one in you than that. So that's one of the pros. The cons are there's really actually not very many cons of working with my brothers. They're great with everything that they do, so I have no cons on that.
Do you have a working title for the album?
We do. It's called Hearts From Above. It's a song that I wrote about 2 years ago. I started working on it, and then brought it to Willie when we started working on this project, and he helped me finish it up. But there's more love songs on this record than I've ever put on a record before, so it's kind of a fitting title for this record. And then we've lost a few really close friends in the last few years too, so it's also kind of a tip of the old hat to them as well.
Cool. Anybody that has all your albums and stuff, one thing I think they can say is those Motorcar guys really have cool artwork. They have great artwork. The last album was just gorgeous.
Yeah, we tried to put a lot of thought into it. I always take like the song and the title and bring it to our artist and work through it with them as we go through the project, because I just feel like I grew up listening to vinyl records, and I like having the copy in my hand. So for me, it's a big deal to be able to flip through and like we had talked about before, it's nice to look through and see who played on what songs and who wrote what
those
songs.
Liner notes.
Yeah, exactly. And you do that.
Or lyrics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes you can't understand, and you go, let me look at the manual here and see what he actually said.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of times too, it's neat to know who wrote the songs. Like I have a lot of people come up to us, and some of our more popular songs, people come up to me all the time. They're like, "Man, I love that song you wrote, Winter of '72," and I'm like, "I didn't write that song."
Right. What was life like growing up in Idaho? Because when I think of Idaho, I think of two things. One, potatoes, of course, staple up there. Yeah. And the other thing I think of is Napoleon Dynamite.
It's funny because the Napoleon Dynamite thing, that's funny to me, because when that came out, we watched it, and that town that they are living in, Preston, I played in Preston before a few times.
Oh, really?
We actually played the high school when we were little kids. So I know, like when they're going through the high school, it's like, it's not very far off. I mean,
were the lockers different colors like that?
Everything's the same.
I thought that was added for the movie.
It's hilarious, man. Everything is just how it was, and it's kind of. But that movie, that small town mentality, and very kind of bordering on that whole Mormon religion thing. It's pretty spot on, man.
It's like a town that got trapped in 1987, where they think Reagan's still the president.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Okay, cool. Well, what was it like growing up there, man?
It was great. I grew up more in the mountains in Idaho. There's a lot of farming, and usually everybody thinks the same thing: potatoes, man. But there's the biggest sold thing out of Idaho is actually rainbow trout. Believe it or not, that's the.
You learn something every day, Mickey. Every day you learn.
Yeah, but it's I grew up in the mountains and fished and hunted and did all that and still do. I'm building a house up there right now, not too far from my folks' place. Just have a place to go write songs.
You're based out of Austin, though.
Yeah, I've been in Austin for 13 years. Love it. Still love every bit of it. I love Austin. It's a great town.
You know, growing up in a small town, I grew up in a small town, you never know what kind of sounds filter into that town growing up. And, you know, when you're a teenager and stuff, music is a big part of who you are and what you got going on. If we could go back in time and go into your room and go through your cassettes and your CDs and all that stuff, I think we have an idea of who we might find. Who would be a surprise artist, you know?
A surprise artist would actually probably be when I first bought my first Walkman CD player. The first CD that I bought was Travis Tritt's Country Club. That was the first CD that I bought.
Right.
I played that thing just a ton until I couldn't play it anymore. But to me, that would be kind of a surprise. But I listened to, like, my dad always was trying to influence us on everything from the Beach Boys to the Everly Brothers for harmonies and musicianship, and listened to a ton of Eagles and Beatles and that kind of stuff. But
lots of harmonies in all those bands.
Yeah, exactly. So it was that's kind of what I grew up. You know, Merle Haggard was a huge. That was the one that Mom was like, we're listening to Merle. For sure.
You know, and speaking of harmonies, that's one thing I've heard about you guys. Really great harmonies.
Thank you. I think it's the brother thing.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I've always thought that you know, families, they just have the same timbre and enunciate a lot the same. And
it's that whole DNA thing.
Yeah, I guess so. I know people ask me all the time, they're like, "Oh, you sound so much like your brothers." And I'm like, "We're brothers."
Well, we have the same parents and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
You guys have been over to Europe.
Yeah.
Talk about the differences between an American crowd, and you guys have played all over the States, and European crowds. What's the difference for you?
I would say the biggest difference playing over in Germany and Switzerland and the Netherlands areas is the crowds are just focused on everything that you play, and from the second you walk on stage, they quit talking. And they'll be into it. They'll dance and they'll clap, but they're so respectful about how they're just there to see music. And half the people don't even speak English, you know, but they're there and they love it. They understand it, but they're just really, really respectful about being quiet when you're telling a story about a song in between songs, and it's different than over here. I mean, we play to a lot of great places, but it's a lot of party crowds, you know, and kids are drinking and having a good time, which is awesome too, having a great time. But they definitely, it's one or the other, you know.
Other than your two other brothers who are in Reckless Kelly, are there any other musicians in your family, or are you guys just kind of an anomaly where your parents had no musical anything, and then you guys just kind of showed up with some stuff?
No, we're like the Partridge Family. My dad's a full-time musician, and his father was a musician, and his brothers are musicians, and so that's what we do. The whole family plays. My brother Gary obviously plays in Micky and the Motorcars with us, and we just grew up playing music. Dad gave us instruments when we were kids, and gave us hand-me-down instruments from our grandparents, and it's just always been something we've all been into. And we get together at Christmas time and have parties, and we all just sit around and pick and play old tunes and new tunes, and it's just fun, man. It's a family thing.
So you guys aren't like the Robertson brothers from the Black Crowes?
No, not at all. We're the opposite of that, actually. We love hanging out together.
Okay. Just checking. What's your favorite breakfast cereal?
I'm going to go with Raisin Bran.
Good choice, sir. Very healthy. When you were a kid, would you have said the same thing?
Probably not. I probably got like Kix. When I was a kid. I loved Kix, Cheerios. My mom didn't let us have any of the sweet stuff, so we always kind of had the more healthy kind of stuff. But I don't know. Now you couldn't force me to eat a bowl of Fruit Loops.
Okay.
No way. Too many times in the last few years, the street life's been my way. I've been drifting around from town to town, trying to make pay.